Hey, what's up, everybody? So, told you I'd do three, and I don't know why. Always at the beginning of these things, I always have a fucking itch that I've got to like scratch somewhere, scratch my nose, scratch my lip. It's all over the goddamn place. Well, I'm here to see Godzilla X Kong something Kingdom. I don't remember what the fucking subtitle of this movie is, and honestly, I'm prepared for this to be terrible. I'm absolutely prepared for this to be terrible. Unfortunately, before I went and saw this movie, I saw somebody talk about it very briefly, but they showed an image, and that image kind of pissed me off. And it sucks because I really did not need to see it. And then later on, same person said something else about the movie. Um, and I take things with a grain of salt in where they're going to go with things, how they're going to do stuff. But honestly, after seeing Godzilla minus one, I have very low hopes for this movie because that is one of the most perfect Godzilla movies that there is out there. And it's like the one quote that I will share from somebody is that, in Japan they still make him a monster, and they still do a lot of stuff, the scare of him, and it's not to say like the Heisei era and all those other things that they didn't make him into a hero, because he has been as well, right? Godzilla has been. But in the US, they make him a superhero. And that's the biggest negative thing I can see in thinking about these movies. And the thing is that I like the 2014 reboot, or I think that was the year that it came out, the first Godzilla with Bryan Cranston. And then I liked King of Monsters. I thought that was as close to a real Godzilla movie that we were going to get. And Kong Skull Island was really good too, but I didn't care much for Kong versus Godzilla. I didn't think that I enjoyed it, but there are things about it I absolutely didn't like. And if they're continuing to go down that road, they've lost me completely when it comes to this stuff. So I want to see some cool kaiju stuff, kaiju fights. That's the best thing to see. And I want the human characters to be important, but not the sole focus of the movie. And unless you're doing, like I just saw with Godzilla minus one, unless you're doing a minus one thing where it's them versus Godzilla rather than it being, Godzilla the superhero. So we'll have to see what happens with this, and I'll let you know my thoughts, and hopefully it also won't be, an hour-long review like Blood and Honey was, but we'll see what happens. See you soon. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am back from Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And, I've been thinking about it all on the drive on the way home, how I feel about this movie. So if you're looking for like a quick review, a couple of seconds or a couple minutes into it without me having to go into a long diatribe about things, blah, blah, blah. If you like Kong versus Godzilla, you'll like this one. The audience in the theater at the end of the movie, they were clapping like nobody's business and cheering at the end of the movie. I was not. I'll tell you that. I think it's better than Kong versus Godzilla, but that's not saying much. And the biggest thing that I have with it, and there's going to be kind of like normal, there's going to be spoilers that I'm going to talk about certain things, and I'm going to talk about something I was a little pissed off about, and it sucks that it got ruined for me. So the thing that the thing that got ruined for me is that Mothra's in the movie. That's going to be the first major spoiler that I'm going to say here. That got ruined, and it sucks because I was excited to see that. That would have been excited to see Mothra in this movie, have Mothra show up and be not a big part of the movie. I wish she had a bigger part. If you know me, second to Godzilla, Mothra is my second favorite kaiju, period. I love Mothra to death. I've loved what they've done with her. I still need to see those 3 Mothra movies that are specifically Mothra, but like the original Mothra movie is like such a good movie. Such a fun movie in that era of, kaiju back in the day. So my biggest issue, besides that getting spoiled for me, And the one thing that I did say is, yeah, Godzilla's a superhero. They're both like superheroes. It's not, I'm not saying that Godzilla hasn't been like a superhero, but he's more like a protector and savior of Earth and not the shit that he's doing in here. And there was something off about the CGI for Godzilla in this movie that I was really kind of miffed at. The other thing is that I don't even think this is a Godzilla movie. Like, not saying that it's not a kaiju movie and that it's not like big and boisterous and there's kaiju battles and all this stuff. This is a King Kong movie. And this is basically some of the same issues that I had with Kong versus Godzilla, where I felt that that was a King Kong movie, not necessarily Godzilla. Godzilla was just showing up to like throw hands, and that was basically it. But the story kind of was centered around more of King Kong. And here, the story is really centered around King Kong. It's not centered around Godzilla or the both of them, right? So the basic idea behind Kong, or I'm not even doing it right because I'm thinking Kong in my fucking head. Godzilla X Kong, right? Is that, you know, Kong's become the protector of Hollow Earth, and then Godzilla is the protector of the upper layer of Earth, the main Earth, from the other Titans that are around there. Now, my cousin and I were talking at the end of the movie, Nello Angelo O2 here on YouTube, and he was talking about how he felt that all the Titans were eradicated, right? That's what they were kind of talking about. And that's kind of what you got in King of the Monsters as well. But I think Monarch introduces Titans back into the universe, that, hey, there are other Titans. And the thing is that Godzilla, he's basically throwing down with them, right? And he's protecting the Earth and killing the other Titans. And then he gets the signal from Hollow Earth that Kong is basically, there's a lot to this whole Kong is wanting his people back, right? Because if we learn in Kong versus Godzilla is that there was a secret society of apes that were in Hollow Earth. I don't want to call them a secret society, but there was a society of apes down in Hollow Earth, right? And those apes were kind of trying to think of the right like word, like they were eradicated by a fight between Kong and Godzilla's people, right? And then this, we learn a little more about that, and there's actually a reason why Godzilla and his people are really kind of against the apes, and it happens to be from the big bad ape that we see in the trailers, whose name I believe is Scar, right? And as far as for the good things that this movie does, and it's really about Kong finding those apes and then realizing that he's a threat to everything they hold dear. Godzilla is powering up. Basically, he's killing Titans and he's absorbing nuclear energy and he's trying to get stronger so that he can face, because he's getting a signal that says the planet needs help, right? And the people that, you know, there's the little girl that was she is the last of the tribe that was watching over Kong on Skull Island, and I forgot where she was introduced into in this whole movie franchise. It may have been in the last one. It may have been in Kong Skull Island. I don't fucking remember her, but she plays a pivotal role because she's the only one that can speak to Kong, and then she has the ability, and then again, another spoiler, she's the one that has the ability to call Mothra, right? And so, and I really wish they had like the song. I know that you don't necessarily need it, but I really wish it. And also, I wish Mothra wasn't so realistic. Like, I miss the old Mothra. And I don't remember Godzilla King of the Monsters. See, again, because Kong is so much in this movie, I'm just fucking thinking about Kong. I really was hoping that we'd have, I think the design in King of the Monsters for Mothra, I think is different and better. Here, it just it felt weird. And maybe I have to go back and I have to look at it and be like, oh, that's exactly what it was. Okay, maybe I'm just being weird with the whole thing, but, you know, it was cool back then to see Mothra on screen. And then now here she is, and I'm just kind of like, huh, it's not necessarily what I wanted to see. But basically, you know, you got Godzilla powering up, you got Kong dealing with everything down in Hollow Earth, and eventually Kong has to bring Godzilla down there to help him get rid of Scar, because there is another Godzilla monster downstairs. He or she, I think it's a she, is not exactly Godzilla, but like what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that there are multiple types of Godzilla, right? That species that are planet protectors that represent nature, right? and this one happens to be the cause of the Ice Age, and it's under the control of Scar, and Scar is intimidating it or controlling it by this like magical ice dagger that he has that basically causes the kaiju to have pain, and so he's controlling that specific kaiju, and he's going to use that to bring an Ice Age back to the surface because he's always wanted to get up to the surface and take over the planet. That's your basic thing. So they have to team up. Kong does have to go to Earth, but Kong and Godzilla, they're still not very like they're on good terms. Okay, they still kind of hate each other's guts, even though they got together to defeat Mechagodzilla in the last movie, right? Which I hated Mechagodzilla. Like I did not like the design. I just was not very happy that that's what we got for it. I really wish it was Mecha Ghidorah instead, because they were talking about Ghidorah's head and all that shit, and then we get a really terrible Mechagodzilla. But I digress. So then that's how they, he has to coerce Godzilla to come down, and then they fight and everything like that. There's like really the real big spoiler and twist really is the Mothra thing. I wasn't, originally expecting Mothra when you see the trailers and you go through everything, but if it wasn't for some friend on Facebook that decides to post pictures, and it's like, he did this thing where it's like, oh, look, Godzilla has wings, but it wasn't Godzilla's wings, it was Mothra's wings behind Godzilla. And I was like, fucking A, that's fucking Mothra. That's what that shit is. So, the good things about the movie, what I did enjoy about this movie, okay? The first thing is that I think that the kaiju fights are fun. I think that they're pretty well done. They get a little shaky cammy, and they get a little bit like too jump cutty, and I think that's just really like to keep within the budget for CGI for giant fucking monsters fighting each other. And sometimes it just feels a little disorienting, but the fights are fun. One of my favorite fights, actually, and this is going to be a spoiler as well, if you haven't seen the movie, again, in the beginning, I kind of gave you the brief thoughts. And if you're this far, then, this is on you. But my favorite one was when you actually meet the little ape. And this one actually surprised me because in the trailer, like, he's there and there's the little ape, and the ape comes out of the mist, and he's like, oh my God, it's a little me. Oh my God, how are you? And he reaches out his hand and he puts his little finger out, waiting for the little ape to come over and touch it. And then the ape decides to bite his fucking finger, and then he throws the ape, and then a bunch of other of the bad apes all attack him, right? Because he's part of the patrol that has to go out there. And then eventually, like, he's fighting them, and the ape, like, jumps on Kong to stop him, but Kong grabs him by the leg and uses him to beat the shit out of the other apes. Fucking, that was the best part in like, for a majority of this movie. It's one of the best parts, if not my favorite part of the movie. And then I think that, the generalized storyline is okay. It's not the greatest. The final battle is fine. But there's just a lot of inconsistencies. I can understand why the audience is reacting the way that they did, why they're clapping, why they're having fun with the movie, because those scenes like that, they're fun, right? And the big battle that you get, and it really just kind of ends, right? There are no after credit like sequences or whatever to continue on. It's like, this is possibly it, right, for the legendary Godzilla universe. It's a possibility that this is the last one we're going to see. Maybe we won't, because this one's probably going to make a decent amount of money. But it's hard when you go, and I said this in the intro, but it's hard when you have seen Godzilla -1 and then you see this. And the people in this movie are stupid. I just do not like any of the human characters. I don't really care. I understand the little girl. She's fine, and that character arc is fine. But we don't have to bring back the podcasting guy from the first movie or from Godzilla, versus Kong. We don't have to bring that guy back and have him be like, oh, he's so smart, he can figure out stuff. But yet he's like, I asked my Discord community, and it's all about my blog, and it's all about recording this, and it's all about doing this so people believe me because I saw all this stuff, and you guys have like hindered me, and you affected my business, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, like, Titans are running they're walking around on Earth. How does nobody believe you what you've said? It doesn't make any sense. They saw Kong and Godzilla fight, and it caused all this damage and everything like that. How'd you lose all that stuff? To me, that doesn't make any sense. And the character is just, annoying, and he's supposed to be comic relief, and the dude outside of this is fucking hilarious. That guy has been in some great movies. He's had some really good roles. I believe God, it's the one like werewolf movie that I believe that he's in that he does a really good job in. And the thing is like he's just I feel like that character is just bad and he's just wasting this movie, and he's doing a good job, but the jokes don't hit. I didn't laugh like any of the times that he's doing, and like he's there to like only give like little bits of information and understanding. There's like one scene with the tribe, because you learn that there's also the tribe of people, the Skull Island girls tribe live underneath there and been worshiping the eights for millennia and all this other shit. And that there's a part where like the main girls like explain, because they don't talk, right? Everything they do is through telepathy. And so but she's explaining what they're going to do, and he's able to figure it out because he understands what they do with gravity there. And but it's just like there's only scenes like that, like the girls drawing these seismic waves that they're feeling, and nobody can understand it except for him. And it's like, but you could have put two and two together. Like even the doctor put two and two together already, and she's like, I just want confirmation. Is basically why she went to him, and just like this is basically a way to get him in the movie. So I don't like the character very much. I like the actor a lot, and I just don't think that he was useful here, right? You could have kept with the doctor who is the guardian of the little girl, the mom, basically, and have that story. That's fine. Like the whole like separate, like the girl's got to do something bigger that could separate them as a family, but it's super important. That storyline is fine. I don't have a problem with that, and that could have been a big focus of it. And then you got the crazy doctor dentist guy that because Kong has a toothache in the beginning of the movie, and he has to replace the tooth with a giant alloy thing that matches the anatomy of his teeth, right? As in the beginning, Kong like I hate like how much of a human type of personality they gave Kong, right? That he's like it feels like you could create dialogue between him and other characters where there's not really supposed to be dialogue. And I get it that you have to convey something as he's meeting the other apes and those things. And I'm not saying that that's bad. It's just like in the beginning of the movie, like he's being chased by all of these like weird dinosaur fur things. And then to like scare them off after he set off all these traps that, I don't know if we're going to see this later in the film. He like breaks one off and on top of his head, and all the goo pours down on top of him, to basically give like, I am the alpha, I'm stronger than you. Look what I can do, and scare them off. And then after he's done, he's just like, ew, I stink. Why am I wearing all of this your crap over here? And then he goes to take a shower in a waterfall. And he's like lathering himself up and clean. I'm just like, why? I don't get some of that stuff that they do. So it just like what I really wanted them to focus on, and they did have like they had I think a total of 6 kaiju battles. I want to say that they had, because they have you have the introduction to Kong, and you could consider the little dudes kaiju if you really want to, because they're bigger than the average thing. And then you have Godzilla fight a tentacle guy, and then you have Kong fight a serpent, and then you have Godzilla fight a titan called Titania, who lives underwater, who's another type of serpent. So there's 2 serpent fights in this movie. And then you have Kong versus Scar, the first round. And then you have Kong versus Godzilla, so that's 5 for a little bit until Mothra comes and breaks it up. And then you have Kong, Godzilla versus Scar and the other dino thing. I can't remember its name is. I probably should just call it Shiva, because it has ice powers, if you understand that reference. And so like the battle symmetry. The other thing I will say is good. It has a really good runtime. I was very surprised because we left the movie, and the movie, of course, supposed to start at 7, doesn't start till almost 7:30. But then we were out of the movie theater at 9:10. So I think that that's a pretty good runtime if you think about it. It was about an hour and 40 minutes. Not bad. I was expecting a 2-hour movie where they're just gonna bloat things. So it moves well. And it's entertaining when you get those kaiju fights, but when you have the human characters, again, the US movies just do not do the human stuff right. They just don't. They want to focus so much on it, and they want to have these terrible jokes and these cute little things that they're trying to add in there, and you don't necessarily need it. Like if something happens that is is funny, but I'm trying to explain it the best way. Like, like early Marvel movies were like, especially like Iron Man, right? Where it's not necessarily meant to be funny, but the way that it's delivered and the maybe the awkwardness of the scene, it has that type of humor. I think you could stick that stuff in there, but it seems like they're trying to put these moments of comedy in there that you don't need. Period. Um, and there's just like beyond that, it's just it's not solid enough for me. I guess maybe that's what it is, because every time, like I said, every time the humans are on screen, I just don't care. And then like we have the giant power glove that they just, happen to have a prototype, and it just happened to be at the base that was destroyed by the other apes that were down there. Like it's randomly just fucking there. Like, oh, I have an idea how to fix, because he, like, when he fights Scar and the Dino for the first time, the Dino uses his ice breath and he's trying to block it with the axe, but the ice completely covers his arm and he gets frostbitten. And then they give him like shots of steroids when they put on the fucking armor, and because he has to take two in the butt and one in one the right cheek, one the left cheek, to make sure it's not discovered by Godzilla that he's been taking the roids. And so all of a sudden it heals him like perfectly, but he's now got the power glove and he can hit the ground with a fierce of lightning. But it's like we decided to make a Titan, one of the strongest Titans in the world, stronger, and the government didn't like that. Well, no duh, no duh. But you just happen to have that prototype here, so it's just like there's a couple of things of whimsy. Actually do like it when the human characters go into the that tribe's village. It's like the Iwa or Iwi. I just cannot remember them, and if I'm smart enough, I'll put like a little thing of text or something that says exactly what they're called. Um, but I like those types of things are fun. I think the exploration, but like one of the funny things is, Kong comes up because his tooth hurts, and so they help him. And then when they go back there, she's like, the daughter wants to go with her, and she uses a line against her, like, I'm your family type of thing, we go together. We're always, whatever the fucking line was. I can't remember it exactly. But like they go down, she's like, fine. And she's like, oh yeah. And also you need me with Kong, because I'm the only one that can talk to Kong. And I'm sorry if I'm doing my fingers like this, because I don't know sign language, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I'm just moving my hands. I'm just animated like that when I do these things. So she just, she says that. And then the moment they get down there, Kong fucking like just goes off on his own. So there's no reason to bring her. There's absolutely no reason to bring her other than the plot of, she's going to be the one to call Mothra. It's just like, okay, so what are you doing with Kong? Like, is Kong going to just randomly show up later? Which, of course, he does. But I just kind of like, ugh. So, I mean, there are things, like I said, there are things I really enjoyed about this, things I didn't. And I thought that a lot of it was just dumb, right? If I turn my mind off and I just watch the fight scenes, I think it's a great movie. If I turn my a little bit of my critical brain on, and I turn my, like, why are they doing this? Where are they going? How are they doing these things? And some of that shit just feels like it's kind of put in there. I don't like it very much, to be honest with you. So it's kind of like I'm right in between the two. I wish that it would have been a lot better. Is basically what it comes down to. I think that they had the opportunity, and the biggest and most sacrilegious thing about this is that Godzilla should not have been included in this movie. Should have just been a Kong movie, is all it should have been. And you could have had Mothra, or you could have made a surprise appearance by Godzilla in there and Mothra, but called it Kong the New Empire instead of calling it Godzilla. But the reason that you're calling it Godzilla versus Kong is because Godzilla sells more than Kong does, right? And so that's why you're doing it. But this story really doesn't need Godzilla. Godzilla isn't a big focus in the movie. Most of the time, he's either kicking someone's ass, right? Or he's charging up in some way, shape, or form. He's going here and he's absorbing nuclear energy. He's going here and killing a serpent so that he can go into their lair, because that's where all the magnetic poles and all the radiation rays, and he's going to power up, and that's how he turns pink. And then he's going to go down there and kick some ass. And he doesn't even get the killing blow of the whole thing. Like the last bit when they're fighting, and it here goes, Kong's holding up Scar, and then the ice dino, which I think the ice dino was fine to get the shot that it needed to, because it got, freed from everything, and it freezes him. And then I thought, oh great, you know what would be really awesome at this point? Godzilla uses his radiation breath to explode it. Nope, Kong just slams him into the ground. So what's the point of Godzilla? He's supposed to be the protector, and he was supposed to be the one to defeat this guy. That's what the prophecy said, but no, it's Kong that does it. So I guess your guys' prophecy is shit, right? Like, I don't know why you had to include you had to include Godzilla in this. Like I said, I think this should have just been a Kong movie, and then that would have been fine. I wouldn't have some of the issues, and maybe that's where I'm kind of acting like I dislike it so much, is because I really wanted more Godzilla and I didn't get it. I got way too much Kong, and I've never been the biggest Kong fan in the world. And the with Kong versus Godzilla, I mean, Godzilla beat his ass. Godzilla won that fight. And even here, like when they fight again, Godzilla basically wins that fight too. And if it isn't for Mothra stopping it, then, that's it. Even with Kong's new power glove. And then Kong is the one that, has to save the no. You know what really fucking happens? And who saved fucking Derry is, oh my god. I hate that little shit. I hate that little shit so much, and that they threw it in. I knew what they were gonna do with that fucking character. When they first brought it in, when I first saw it in the trailer, I'm like, that thing's gonna help and do something, right? And I thought it was interesting when they brought him in the first time, because of the whole biting the finger. I'm like, that's cool. Okay, that's great. And then, of course, they become friendly because Kong can't be mean to the little guy, right? He can use him as a weapon, and he can beat the shit out of him to beat the shit out of other people. There's even one where like the monkey like is falling off, and he helps the monkey and he pulls it up, and he's like, I can't kill you or let you die. And then the monkey goes and grabs a knife and tries to stab Kong. You heard me right. Grabs a fucking knife. And then when he tries to do that, then fucking Kong does his best. This is Sparta, and kicks his ass off the ledge. But with the little guy, he just doesn't do anything to him, because he doesn't, I guess, try to kill him, or he like whimpers back or whatever, recognizes that Kong's the alpha. And God, even when they meet the apes, Kong does some stuff that's just like, ugh, like why? Like, again, if it's Kong's own movie, maybe I don't think like that. But the fact that you're trying to put Godzilla in this when it's really a story for Kong, which makes me think that they're just focusing on like the U.S. kaiju. Right? Because that's not a creation of Japan. That's a creation of us over here, right? And has got assimilated into the kaiju world. We've kind of assimilated in there, even though there was the original Godzilla versus Kong. But I think that was more of like a play on the, U.S. versus America. Let's do it, and let's do a combined, production, and see where things go with everything. Pardon me. So overall, I think this gets a 3 out of 5. It's average. Okay. I'm very close to giving it a 2 out of 5, but I think because of the fighting that it gets, a 3 out of 5, frozen power gloves. Like it's just, there are things that I really want to like this. And like I said, I do like this better than Kong versus Godzilla, right? I think that the action is better. I think that I don't think that the designs are necessarily better, except for the design. I think Kong looks way better than Godzilla in this movie, and that is a travesty. Like, why does he get to look so much better? I think Godzilla looks even thicker than he did in the last ones. Like, he's progressively just getting fatter as these movies are. Like, he's been hanging too much in the U.S. market. He loves McDonald's way too much, and he's just getting thicker and thicker and thicker, but not in the right proportions, right? And there's just... there's a couple of times where Godzilla -1 looks way better. And they do the same Godzilla -1 style power up for Godzilla at one point. But it's not as cool. But it's very, very, very similar, which is ridiculous. If you think about it, like, I feel like that was added into this movie after they saw what they did in -1. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this one is not as long as the last review that I did, but it's probably still pretty long. Make sure if you like the content here, you like and subscribe. I know there's been a couple of new people that are following the channel, and I really appreciate you guys for doing so. And if you've seen this movie, did you enjoy it? Am I just fucking crazy? Please let me know in the comments below. And check out Terrible Terror Podcast, which is available, and new episodes drop every other Saturday. And as of this recording, there'll be one this Saturday. So, all right, guys, I will catch you next time on one of these. So, bye, guys.